Yo, hey, what's up, you guys? Johnny Beane here. Timothy Gaines is with us. It is, what did I say, Friday? Friday, January 10th, right?
Yes.
2025. It's about 9 p.m. Eastern. And I think, Timothy, you had something you wanted to say, right?
Hey, everybody. It's Timothy Gaines. You're watching me and the guys here on Johnny Beane TV. Welcome. Good to see y'all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. There we go. I did a Billy Sheehan was on the show one time, and bassist, and I asked him for a channel ID, and I highlighted him, and he couldn't see my name, and he's like, "You're watching my best friend," and he couldn't remember my name.
It went away.
He's like, your name went away. So the channel ID I have him as saying, "You're watching." Oh my gosh, so funny.
Oh, that's funny.
But you guys, welcome to the show. Welcome, Ron Gunner is here. Oh yeah, we got the applause here. There we go. Ron is here. Timothy, of course, and
Mr.
before.
Gaines.
Yeah, but before we get started, we must say hello to the top tier of channel members here on YouTube. Channel membership, it's a great way to help support the channel and support these shows. Top tier are the executive producers. They are Alex Radford, Music Therapy Labs, Woody B. Real, Flipper Carlin, CC, Bay Area Rich, Michael B., Sherman Callahan, Nova 9, Warlag, our Habs, and of course, Janice Lala, the intern. Thank you so much, you guys, for your continued support for this channel and these shows. They're getting bigger and better and more.
Yes, it is.
So Ron, how are you doing, man?
Preparing for a foot of snow, which
Oh,
I love, by the way.
oh,
And
good.
my German Shepherd loves it too, especially when I pick if I do shovel. So I was telling him in the other backstage that I can also use a flamethrower. But if I do shovel, I throw a shovel in her face, and she just loves it. She tries to figure out where it came from. So.
Cool, man. So hey, so we're live on Facebook. Let me just there we are. Okay, I see us. And yeah, I saw Timothy. You had shared out on Facebook. You had shared the YouTube link.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
So thank you so much for doing that, man.
Awesome. No problem.
Lewis,
I hope,
if you look,
Hope we get
look
some
at the
people
chat.
tuning in
Yeah.
from my page.
Yeah.
If you look at the chat, Tim,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Lewis, you saw Timothy with Stryper in concert on the To Hell with the Devil tour in Corpus Christi, Texas. It was at the Ritz Theater downtown.
Downtown. Wow.
Wow.
would
Do you
have
remember
been
that
80.
show?
Nope.
That would have been what, 84, 85?
80. The Hell with the Devil. When was that? 87, 86, 87.
Yeah, 86, 87. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow.
that's when I saw you at the Syria Mosque was 87.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's like 40, almost 40 years now.
yeah, I know.
Oh,
Time flies, don't
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, real fast. As soon as I hit 30, it just went.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Faster than you want it to go.
I know. Dudes. So we got people in the chat. You guys have any questions or comments for Timothy? Burnt Relic is here. He's helping out with the Nightbot links. So thank you so much. We got Mike Wood, channel member. Hey man.
Mr.
Good
Wood,
to see you. Good to see you. We got Rob 5150. Hey Rob. We have a lot of Van Halen fans that watch because we do a lot of Van Halen
Awesome.
content.
And you know what? That's a good question to start with right there. Johnny did not know you were in Stormer.
I wasn't Stormer. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know that, or he
Yeah.
didn't.
I had no idea.
But you
Yeah,
guys,
right.
were you open for Van Halen? Didn't you?
Well, I wasn't in the band when I when I joined, Van Halen had already become huge. So I joined the band around 1980, 81. I was in high school, and just
So it was
graduating.
just a few years later, because Stormer had been a band that was on a bill with Van Halen
Yeah,
during either like the club days of Van Halen or like doing like the backyard party days.
yeah, that's
You
when
know.
they all played together, and Stormer had several different guitar players. Probably the most famous during the Van Halen era was a guy named Jimmy Bates, who he played a lot like Eddie. So it was in that vein. And when I joined the band, it was Donnie Simmons, who was another great guitar player in LA. And but yeah, it was a great band and to be a part of, and had a huge history of the 70s and into the 80s. And then I had left the band in early 83 or late 82, I can't remember, but that's when I was out, and then I joined Stryper maybe within that year.
So were you with Stormer when they opened, or I don't know if they opened, but they played with Metallica?
Yeah, we did that show at the Whiskey.
Cool.
Yeah. So Motley, I
That would
think
have been
Motley played. I think they played their first show with us, and then we were always headlining Motley, and then all of a sudden Motley got big, and we were opening for Motley, and then they got to the point where they didn't want to play with us anymore. They were getting big, and we were, I think we were a good band.
that would have been with Cliff then, right, on bass for Metallica.
I
was that
don't remember. I don't remember.
They had the one guy first, then they got, I don't know what year.
I think Mustaine might have been in the band still. And at that point they weren't. This would have been 81 or 82.
Yeah, they weren't.
And I mean, they were just another band that came to LA and was trying to do stuff. I remember, so later on when I was in Stryper in 85, they were in the same studio with us, a place called Amigo Studios. It was the old Warner Brothers studio in Burbank. And we were recording Soldiers Under Command, and they were doing, I think, whatever the Black Album cover was. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I mean, we were all, there together in the same studio.
That's what I know a lot of people in the chat might be interested in, is I don't think people realize how all you guys and all these bands at some point or other played on stage with each other, or you couldn't, I don't think you could imagine all of it.
Yeah. I mean, and we're all just, a lot of guys were going into different bands. We were all, so when I was in Stormer, we did shows with Rat, Night Ranger, who was called Ranger at the time. They came down and we did a show with them at the Country Club, I think right before their first album broke. And
nice.
I remember, so I was like, we were supposed to be headlining, and I was all ticked off because who's this band that came to, so they were the headlining band. And then when they played, I realized, these guys are great. Jeff Watson and Brad doing this twin guitar solo. They're walking out on the tables in the crowd. This place called the Country Club out in Reseda, and so they were a great band. And man, who else? I mean, just Quiet Riot. All these bands. I remember going to see Quiet Riot back in the day
with Randy,
and Rudy, and and that was a lot of great local bands on the, in the Hollywood area, Southern California, because there was a band called A La Carte that was just tremendous, blues band, and of course Quiet Riot, and a band called Smile was like one of my favorites growing up, and then Stormer, of course, and then I got to be in Stormer, so it was kind of like a dream come true, for me to start off. I was just a kid, and these guys are all 7, 8 years, 9 years older than me, so when I got to join this band, and I was still in high school, And these guys had already been seasoned, players, around LA for a long time. So it was just cool. And, just stepping stones, and one thing led to another. And then I got into Rock's regime, which became Stryper, and the rest from there is, kind of history.
Yeah, that's well. I mean, you guys were all over MTV, so I mean, I remember seeing all kind of videos of from Stryper then.
Yeah, I mean, from 85, I think we did 84, 85. We started doing videos when To Hell with the Devil came out. We had put out Calling on You, and I think Free. And then when we did the ballad, Honestly, we did a video for that, and then all of a sudden everything just took off, and it was like a top 40 hit on the radio.
Was Free the video that you guys came in on a helicopter?
Oh, that was Always There for You. That was on the next album on In God We Trust.
Yeah, my wife now, but girlfriend at the time, was in love with you guys. That's why we went in '87 to see you in Pittsburgh.
The Syria Moss Ballroom.
I said, if you could date him, which one would you date? She said, all of them. Okay.
The thing I remember about that venue, we played, you mentioned the Syria Moss Ballroom earlier, and that was the thing I remember about that venue is we're all playing with RC cars. Remember those remote control cars?
Yeah.
Yep. So we all had those things, and I think Robert had a helicopter or something at the time, and he was trying to fly. But I remember we were playing that venue, and before the show, I was out there with my truck, just going around the stage and just having fun with it. We're a bunch of kids.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Hurricane that opened up for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hurricane on that tour for sure. Either that or TNT and Loudness. They also did a leg.
It was Hurricane. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It was a good show. It was packed. I remember that. You guys kicked serious butt that night.
Well, and I think that was before, maybe it was after the video broke, but we went from playing theaters in, smaller venues, that were like 500 to 1,000, maybe 1,500 seats. And then all of a sudden when Honestly took off, we were like put into the arenas. So we were doing like 15,000 seat arenas, and they were selling out. So it was crazy.
Wow.
That was. We've talked on here. Johnny and I have talked a lot about the perception of getting signed, what you may think it's going to be, and what it really is. Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate on that for us, please? Since you were more successful than either of us were.
So back then, I mean, record companies still had budgets, and they put money into artists or bands. Which nowadays they don't really, they front the bill for, a recording. And then, if you save enough money, you get to pocket the rest, But back then they put money into you and put money into videos, and, they do the distribution and all that stuff. So, and back then we had record stores and places you could buy albums and CDs or cassettes or whatever. So, I think there was a lot more going for the record business, definitely in the 80s. And I think it kind of reached its peak somewhere in the 90s. And then I don't know when it started, probably after Napster in around 98 or so, things just kind of started disintegrating from there. And then everything switched online. But I mean, yeah, if you had a decent deal, and we were with an independent label, but we had the whole company was behind us. Enigma Records, was a small label, but they I think they went the extra mile for us, because they were a small label and they wanted to see things succeed. Whereas, a larger label maybe not, a lot of bands got shelved. A lot of bands got signed and just, maybe they got to record, or, maybe they finished an album, but it never got released. And
because there was always, especially over here on the East Coast, because all we ever saw was a Sunset Strip and all that stuff, and it was like, wow, you get signed, and next thing you know, you got limos and mansions and all kind of stuff, and it doesn't always do that. I mean, I don't know the complete facts about it, but Chris Holmes from Wasp. I know if you ever watch his documentary called Mean Man, he talks about, even though his name is on the record for writing credits in the contract, which he didn't really check, he just signed, he's just labeled as a studio musician. So he's like, even though my name's right there, I don't get anything for it. So, it's I know it's tricky.
That happens a lot, or whoever the main writer was, in our case, as Michael wrote the majority of the songs. And so, he still today sees, the residual, he still gets stuff for that, I was just a bass player. I was, when I came back into the band in 2009, I came back in as a hired gun, because I had left the band in 2004. I was just I was done. And, when they gave me the opportunity to come in as a full member, and I just, I didn't want to have the responsibility of all that. And so I just came in as an employee, a hired gun. And whereas, in the 80s, I was 25%, co-owner, of the band. So
I do like, I watched today the No More Hell to Pay video. I do like that song, and your bass is pretty good in that, Tim. I gotta tell you that.
It came out. It came out pretty well, compared to some of the others. You can't really hear the bass, or at least the ones so there's 2 albums I didn't play on from back in the days. I had studio guy come in, and some people know that, some people don't, and it's like, I don't care nowadays, but I mean, that was like a big issue back in the 80s. For me. And so I was, people are saying I was in the band, out of the band. And when the actual fact was, I didn't play on the album. I was out of the band for maybe a couple of months. And then when it came time to tour, I was back in the band again. So I just continued on the road. And then again, that was Tell with the Devil. And then In God We Trust, the same thing. I was in studio every day with everybody, sitting right there while it was being recorded. But they had studio guy come in, Brad Cobb, and he played on those 2 albums. And then what was it? Against the Law came out. I played on that one, except for Shining Star. That was Randy Jackson from what was the show?
Journey.
Journey.
American Idol.
American Idol. Thanks.
I was thinking America's Got Talent, but no.
I was trying to think of what it was, but and so he came in, and I was like, let's have this guy come in and play all the funk stuff on Shining Star. So that was great. But throughout the years, some of the albums, the earlier albums, you can't really hear bass. It's more loud guitars and drums, and it's kind of bass is kind of an afterthought. In a 80s metal band. You're kind of there because you fit the suit, or you take up that extra space on stage right or left.
A lot of it can be image.
It is,
you know.
So, and I had the look back then. I had the hair, and so that was a lot of being a bass player in an 80s glam metal band. So, but yeah, when we did No More Hell to Pay, that album, you could actually hear my bass on pretty well, and it's
I like that, and especially that song. That's probably my favorite song on that album. It just because I remember talking to you on Facebook when you guys was recording that. I was like, I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah.
Oh, I figured it out. It's a little over 11 years we've been friends now. We
it
was trying to
11?
figure that out the other night.
Yeah, we were talking. You said 10, and I was like, I think it was longer than that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
a little
I was
over
living in
11 years.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I
So
was in Franklin, Tennessee for 13 years, trying to make it big in the music business. That was after my career was over.
A lot of musicians, have done that. They've moved on from the, let's say, the Hollywood, scene or the LA scene,
Yeah,
to Nashville, either as session players, as writers.
yeah.
And
Nashville's great. Up until I left 8 years ago, 2017, I left, but 16. But just what a great town. I mean, the top-notch players from all over the world, end up there. The greatest writers, regardless of what style of music you like, if it's country or rock music, whatever, it's like everybody lives there. All the great players are there. You got all your A-list session players, B-list session players. I was kind of like a C or a D. And I had a couple of guys, a couple of producers that and songwriters that kept me busy the time that I was there. I wasn't on any major albums, but I played on just tons of demos, and it was a good time. It's a good time.
So they can keep you busy.
Yeah. There's a question for you in the chat. It says, "Are you playing with anybody now, Tim?"
No, actually, at the moment, I haven't really been playing in 3 years now. 3 years, 4 years.
Look at his avatar.
I was, so I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing now is just recording from the house. So people send me songs, and I'll lay a bass track down and send it back to them. And so that's pretty much the extent of my playing. I play guitar for my church. So that's pretty much the only playing I'm doing nowadays is playing guitar and singing a little bit. And then, of course, the occasional recording comes in, which I think this year I'm going to probably focus more on doing more session work again. And I took about 3 or 4 years off, maybe longer than that now, 5 years. Whenever the pandemic came down, I just kind of stopped
5 years ago
at that point. But I had been playing for Aldo Nova, so in 2020,
cool.
we had been planning to do a tour with Aldo, and the pandemic came and kind of shut down everything. No tours. So, but he still kept me busy. Aldo's a great guy. He kept me busy playing on songs. I ended up playing. In fact, recently he just released "Life and Times of Eddie Gage," and so I'm on one of these songs here.
Cool.
Nice.
That was something that he did. So I've been keeping busy. In fact, I got I pulled these out just so I could remember who there's several. Kevin Pike, he's a great shredder guitar player. I did a couple albums with him. I did something with Luke Easter, Pop Disaster. I played on that. I did a band. I was in a band with Joey Tafoya and Kevin Gucher and a drummer from Journey.
Cool.
I remember you
so
posting
we had
that
a
on
band called
Facebook.
Gods and Monsters.
Yeah.
Band called Faith's Edge. Did a couple albums with them. So the last 5 or 6 years, I've been kind of busy just doing stuff like that.
So is this a combination of because you said you do tracks from home, I'm assuming, right? So is this a combination of going out to studios and then doing stuff from your own?
I would if there was something, that paid well enough, I suppose, to travel. But I mean, I've done stuff here in town, in Phoenix. I live in Phoenix, and I've done a few things with some guys here in town, but most of it's online. And I've played on stuff, from South America, guys from Europe, these hardcore thrash bands, which I'm not a heavy metal guy. I'm a rock guy, but I grew up playing rock music, R&B, jazz, so I'm kind of like that, but I always get typecast as the heavy metal player, which is cool, But,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So I'm not complaining, but I'm just, for what I'm good at. And so I was in a band in Phoenix, a jazz band, R&B jazz band, and or not Phoenix, in Nashville, and did a couple albums with them. But I mean, that really showcased my playing, as far as a bass player goes. But when I end up doing a lot of this other stuff, it's always hardcore metal stuff, which is fun. I guess I ride the E and the A string. So
so who are your first, like, let's say when you were first starting out with music, with your, is bass your first instrument?
Yeah, well, it's the first one I took serious. I started playing piano when I was a kid, like 4 years old. I started banging out chords, and I have a family of jazz musicians. My uncle was jazz nightclub performer, like a crooner kind of guy, in the 60s, and he put out an album. He worked with guys like Mel Torme, and it was on the Danny Thomas show. He worked out
the Fog.
So he was one of those kind of guys, and so I always had that kind of influence in my life. And then his sons, my cousins, they kind of took me under their wing as far as turning me on to jazz music. So, but I mean, when I first started playing bass, I was 13, and my first bass was actually a classical guitar where I cut the top two strings off of, and I played it as a bass. And the guy that I liked listening to, I was, like I said, I learned to play piano first, but I was really into Elton John, and I wanted to be like a piano player, singer. And but I always found I was gravitating more towards his rhythm section. The bass player was Dee Murray and Nigel Olsson, drummer. And so that was really my main influence starting off, and what kind of got me into wanting to play bass, because I could hear that. I could feel it for some reason. So I was just gravitated towards bass. So anyways, 13 years old, my first bass was a acoustic guitar, classical guitar. And then for my 14th birthday, because I was so into it, my parents got me my first bass. And so, and from then on, it was just like, at the time it was like rock guys, bands in the 70s, everybody that was big at the time, Aerosmith, who was big at that time, like Queen, John Deacon, the bass player for Queen. And then Rush. I got into like a bunch of older bands, early 70s, late 60s band, Three Dog Night, the bass player Joe Shermy was like huge influence. Jethro Tull's bass player, Glenn Cornick. He that guy was a monster on bass, so there was all these guys that had just different influences. And of course, Jaco Pastorius came along later on, and it's like Geddy Lee, he was like a big influence, in the late 70s, early 80s. And I went through my Rush phase where I was like in the, learning every side one from 2112. And, I played everything, from Rush.
The same thing.
Yeah. So I went through
was
that.
A great way to tune a guitar in 1976. Ding, ding, the beginning of 2112. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's just basically
it's harmonics, learning harmonics. So so all the bands that that were around in the late 70s, mid 70s, and of course disco music was great for bass. If you're a bass player, most people. But even early on, so earlier music, so I go back to like the 60s and my childhood, and thinking of music, it was like anybody who was on TV, like the Monkees, Beatles. Beatles were a huge influence. And then of course 1970 with the Partridge Family, when they came out, it was like we didn't know who was playing on the records, but I thought it was Danny Bonaducci.
I've been watching that every night. I've been
Yeah.
I watched the pilot episode last night actually
Wow.
of
Yeah.
that, and it's
I
hilarious.
love that. I got them all on DVD. I got to find those here. But
Oh man.
it was a huge influence. And so, you're
Hmm.
a young kid, 10 years old, and you're hearing this. The songs were great, even though the show may have been cheesy, but it wasn't that bad. But, it's like, I thought they were a real band. And,
Hmm.
I used to listen to the music and the harmonies and everything. And then later on, I found out it was, studio guys. But, still, then you start searching out who the studio guys were that played on all these records. And, find, oh, there's like a whole West Coast music scene, studio cats, and, so Joe Osborne, Max Bennett, Carol Kay, it's like all these guys, Larry Knechtel, I have all these guys, and the Wrecking Crew,
Yep.
playing on all these great records. So what we thought in our minds were, actual bands, with all studio people that were jazz guys that played rock records. But I mean, that was the stuff that influenced me.
That's like you said, the Monkees. I know Peter Tork
Yeah.
and Mike Nesmith were great musicians,
Yeah.
and I know Mickey Dolenz actually learned how to play the drums for the show, but I know Mike, and I think they were actually accomplished musicians before they even got in the show.
They were.
I'm not
I heard
mistaken.
something from him the other night. He's passed away, but there was something that him and Davy Jones he was playing guitar and singing, Mike Nesmith, and Davy Jones was also singing. So they were doing this duet together. He was really playing. I mean, he's playing guitar. And I heard Stephen Stills, Crosby, Stills and Nash. I heard that he was actually the one who was they had picked to do the show, and he backed out. So Mike Nesmith came in. But I mean, these guys could really play, which was cool.
I know. I remember them saying that, telling when they got back together in the mid '80s for whatever it was, the 10-year or 20 whatever reunion.
Right.
I remember them telling the story that Hendrix was opening for them and got booed off the stage
Wow.
because it was mostly girls. They wanted to see the Monkees. Hendrix came out and played, and they just booed him off the stage. So
yeah, that's crazy. Oh, somebody's wrote in Mel Satcher. I don't know how to say his last name. From Duck Dunn.
Yeah.
Satcher from Grand Funk.
Oh, cool.
Grand Funk was another great band.
Yeah. So you had all these influences from the 60s, 70s, and then so by the time I guess you were in bands in the 70s, I guess, and then but the 80s, that's when you really sounds like you really got busy and and you were in the 80s scene. So that's something too. A lot of people, they don't realize musicians, they might be in a certain band with a certain look, certain style, but they can be into all kinds of stuff, growing up, influences, and that's what makes great musicians, is the ones that listen to everything,
You broaden your horizons, and you keep that open mind about music,
and especially if you want to be a studio musician, you got to be able to play everything there is. At any time. And
I didn't know how to play, in the studio. The first time I went in the studio was like 1979, I think. I did with the band I was in, we went in and did a 3-song demo.
Mm-hmm.
And I played, at that time, I had a 65 jazz bass, which I got rid of. I kick myself all the time for getting rid of that thing. But I go back and listen to this demo that we did way back then. It was a 4-track studio, or maybe 8-track. I can't remember. It was a small reel-to-reel studio in Pasadena, California. And my bass tone was actually pretty good, for just, not knowing what I was doing. And I played through a B15, Ampeg B15, and played my 65 jazz bass. And it sounded pretty decent, and then I didn't really know I didn't know anything about bass tone. I didn't know, when I got into Stryper, well, when I was in Stormer, for instance, it's like the sound guy talked me out of my Ampegs to go for these big giant 15-inch JBL scoops, which you couldn't hear on stage. The Ampeg SVTs were great. You could hear it, you could feel it. And he talked me, those things are, you need these big 15-inch speakers. So, I got rid of my Ampegs and got these JBL 15-inch speakers, which you couldn't hear on stage. You could hear it in the back of the room. But, I didn't know anything about tone. And so I just went by what people told me to do. And then, by the time I got into Stryper, I was playing, I had my Music Man Stingray, which I still have today. I still play it. And we went in the studio, and I can't remember what I played through on our first album, but I think it might have been like a Tom Scholz Rockman. Remember those little pedals? Or not, it wasn't a pedal, but it was like you plugged it in and it had like a headphone.
It was like a Walkman type.
Yeah, like a Walkman. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rockman. So I made a bass. I think that's what I used in the studio on our first EP. I played my bass into one of those, and then it came out and went into the board. But I mean, I didn't know anything about tone, and the bass sounds terrible. Same with Soldiers. It was like bass sounds terrible. I didn't know anything, and then they went off of those recordings that I did prior and decided, well, he doesn't know how to play bass in the studio. So they got a studio guy to come in, and then at that point, after those, To Hell and God came out, and at that point I was like more aware of tone, and I had worked with guys. There's a guy, bass player, Jeff Berlin, who took me under his wing. Great player. And so he kind of encouraged me, because I was kind of down and out. He was like, why do they kick me out? And so Jeff's like, well, you don't need to use a pick. They wanted me to use a guitar pick on my bass in the studio. And it's like, it's just, you got to figure out your attack on your finger. So, I worked on that. And then of course, Against the Law, the bass came out pretty good on that. And, and I'm more of a melodic player versus, I probably didn't work out well with that 80s, just writing the E and the A strings, because I'm more of a melodic player because of my influences from the 60s and 70s. So those players were just, melodic players. So yeah, he says he's got an X100 Rockman. So I had mine for the longest time, and I got rid of it. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, it's just, go ahead.
Well, I was to say, someone had asked about what basses you use and your favorite bass earlier, and what amp. I mean, I know Ampeg's your favorite amps.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays I'm either using an Ampeg or the old SWR. So in the 80s, I had an endorsement with Ampeg, and I had 8 SBT cabinets across the back of the stage. And it wasn't a crank loud. I had 4 heads, SBT heads, and 8 cabinets. And I didn't crank it, but it filled in that whole stage right where I was standing. It's like I could walk anywhere in my section on stage, and these are in the big arenas. I could hear everything perfectly. And of course, 90s came around and everything fell apart, and bands were breaking up, and so I had all these cabinets in my garage and all the gear, and it's like we ended up I sold everything and traded it in for a 410 SWR SWR head and cabinet, and I went with SWR for the longest time until I think I started touring again with Stryper in 2009. So right around then, and then of course you get your back line, when you're playing. So the promoters usually provide all the gear, and so it's like I request Ampeg, because it's tried and true.
So you just show up, and it's just
I show up. Yeah.
So
that was cool.
So let me ask you, Ron and I were wondering, so what's it like playing those arenas?
Oh, it's great. It's well, it's like you just, I don't know, you just do it. I can't explain it. It's just, um, I feel more at home playing a big arena because you're not like focusing on any particular people like a smaller club. It's like, I get a little claustrophobic because there's people right up against the stage. Usually if you're playing a bar or smaller club, they're like right in your
right there,
your crotch. So it's kind of weird. But so you kind of like you got people playing with your stuff, and you got your foot pedals, and people are like playing with your chords or not trying to. But, a lot of times they'll get excited about something and they'll hit something and knock it out of the way, and so you always have that in the smaller venue. But the huge arenas, you just walk out and everything's usually done for you already. It's like you're not like worried about sound check or anything like that, because everything when you get to that level, you're already everything's done. You walk up, plug in your guitar or bass, whatever, and we do sound check a song, and then you're done, and then you go out and do the show. And there's just so much more excitement in the arenas, and they still do those. In Europe and South America, it's like we'll play like Puerto Rico. There's a baseball in San Juan. There's a baseball arena or stadium, and you go there and then pack the place out. South America, you pack the place out, but then you come back home to Europe or to America, and you're playing small clubs again. It's really weird. Europe is another thing. They do huge festivals. So it's cool. It's cool.
Did you guys have any weird rider for like backstage food or
yeah. Excuse me. Like green M&Ms.
Yeah.
That's no. We just had your normal rider, just water and whatever, hors d'oeuvres. They usually have you'd have a deli tray. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Deli tray, kind of like in Spinal Tap, where you're folding the meat over, and it doesn't fit the bread.
Yeah, so bread's too small.
So was Spinal Tap, was that movie funny to you, or like was it too close to home?
It's very close to home, but it's still hilarious. All those scenes are real. I mean, everybody lived those scenes in one form or another. So, yeah, I loved Spinal Tap. And a lot of people don't find it funny because they just don't understand. It's kind of a stupid movie. But unless you're a musician and you kind of understand what's going on then.
Yeah.
Johnny Rock, was Tim playing with Aldo Nova for a while? Yes.
For a while. I did. Okay, so look online if you want to see. I did a video. We did a video in Montreal called "I'm a Survivor," and that was when I first started working with him. And then after that, we had been planning the tours and stuff. So really just recording a lot of stuff with him, doing demos. And during the pandemic, we did some live shows where we were all in different places. Like I was here,
like
in my house with a microphone playing, and he was at his place in Canada, and so we did stuff like that, just to give some live performance for the fans and stuff. But yeah, so I never got to tour with them, and then it got to the point again because of the pandemic where for me to go in and work in Canada, I'd have to quarantine for 10 days. And so it was to that point where I'm like, man, I just can't, you got to quarantine just for doing a weekend's worth of work. And it's like, it got to the point where I just needed to stay home. So, but we're still good friends, and we talk every now and then, and he has me do songs, like I played on that song on his album. So it's good stuff. He's a great guy. Great guitar player. Aldo Nova. Oh my God. Aldo is such a great guitar player. Nobody really knows. He's like, I don't know. He's a musical genius because he can play everything. He's a great writer. He's a great producer. So I don't know. You guys need to check him out because he hasn't gone away. He's still doing stuff. He's still touring. He's got a good
Tim, remember the other day I told you about Zim's guitars right there in Mesa?
Yeah.
He's Dane. He's in here now.
There he is.
Awesome.
Dane.
Hey, what's up?
I told Dane that you may be stopping by his store for some basses to look.
Yeah, I need to get out there. I'm gonna make it a point to get out there. I live in Sun City where the old people drive golf carts, and so
So you can get a ride over there.
I got a big Silverado, Chevy Silverado, and everybody else is in golf carts, so I kind of annoy people when I'm driving around.
Can you? They asked about your bass, your favorite one, but can you please show the one that's my favorite of yours?
I pulled it out today so you could.
This is one of the prettiest basses I've ever seen. Look at this.
Can you guys see that? All right, let me hold it up. Maybe if I set it up this way, I don't want to hit it on anything. Nope, it's not going to fit. Okay, go this way. Knock the microphone over. All right, this is. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's Overture Guitars. It was made by a friend of mine, Justin Hoffman, who had a company called Overture Guitars. And this is the shape and everything is his design. There's the headstock. And he built me 3 basses. He built this one, which is all custom, hippie sandwich. I don't even remember all the different woods. There's look at the flame on that one. It's like, don't look.
Don't even touch it.
Don't touch. You've seen enough of that one. So he built this for me, and what we did with all of them, because the lighting guys would shut the lights off right before we were going to start a song. So, can you see that?
Yeah.
I think my batteries are going to go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, they're glowing.
LED lights for side markers. So.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I could see where I was at before the song started. And then I got a drop D tuner here. So I was having trouble with 5-string. I don't like playing 5 strings. So we decided, since there's only a handful of songs that I really play in like a low D or whatever, I just put a drop D. So I just flipped the lever and that dropped it down. Mm-hmm. It's a great bass. Status Graphite made the pickups, and that kind of matches my old headless bass that I used in the 80s. It was a Status Graphite Series 2000. So we put a Status Stingray pickup and a Jazz pickup in the neck, and then it's all Status electronics. And what do we got? Badass 3 bass bridge. Which string through design, but and then he did inlays are all crosses. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
It's all abalone, and then the 12th fret, he's got a bigger cross here, and then goes all the way up. And then my initials are in abalone in the middle here. It's kind of hard to see on this bass, but the others. The yellow and black basses, they kind of became my trademark throughout the 2012 through 16, 17. So great bass though. It plays great, sounds great.
I love those basses. That's one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful bass. And of course, I play everything else too. I got an old Stingray P bass. Got my fretless, and most of the basses I play, I put together myself. So, it's like I get a neck or a body.
Cool.
I like my P bass in the back.
That's
over
what
here.
he does.
Yeah.
You have a workbench?
Not anymore, but I did. But I mean, this one in the back, I found.
I just got one.
Neck. Oh, there you go.
I just got a nice workbench to work on guitars and stuff.
Nice.
So that's what some of these shows are like putting guitars together and
Oh, okay.
stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
a friend of mine in Oklahoma has a bench like that in his room, and he collects Spectre basses, and so
nice.
he's always working on something. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm traveling. I find something that I like the bass in the background, the Sunburst. I found the bass. It was a Squire bullet bass, a Korean neck, and I was in a Guitar Center somewhere in Cincinnati or somewhere, and it was $100. So I was like, I grabbed the bass and then I took the neck off because I just wanted the neck. It was set up really nice, and I bought another body for it, and so I put it together just the way that I wanted it, kind of based on like an old '62 P bass. But that's like my number one recording bass, and it's just got a few $100 into it. nothing fancy, and so that's how most of them are. And like this thing, I'm afraid to take it out because I don't want to scratch it or take the chance of somebody stealing it or whatever.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just if you have the skills to put your own instruments together, put something together that's cheap.
Yeah. Yep.
Use it.
Most of my basses and guitars are just things like a Squire. I can buy a Squire body, neck and a body, and just do the frets. Fix the frets, put new pickups and a new bridge, and basically I'm just buying it for the neck and the body, and everything else is like redone. But I got a Squire Telly that turned into like great guitar, and it was a cheap 189 Affinity Squire Strat or Telecaster, and I put another probably $300 of parts into it, but it's it's a nicer guitar, but it's the satisfaction of being able to do it yourself. And
and that's John and I have talked about that a lot of times on the show, that it's for us, including you, going somewhere and seeing guitar in bad shape, instead of just passing it by thinking, oh, I could fix that. And you can get some really nice stuff that way.
Yeah. I do a lot of the eBay stuff or Reverb nowadays, where you get online and you see a lot of guys don't want to touch it. I'm not going to buy nothing used, and it's like, cheaper the better for me. It's like, I know how to work on guitars. I can do anything. I did guitar repair, in my past. So it's like, I know what I'm doing. I'll buy a cheap guitar and put, $100 or $200, and a lot of stuff I have laying around anyways from older, endorsements and stuff. Like I had a Seymour Duncan endorsement, which I had Seymour Duncan pickups, active pickups, and I put them in all my basses. And then when I get ready to sell it, I'll pull them out and put them aside. And same thing with DiMarzio stuff. It's like I have cases full of parts, and I'll just put something. Oh, here's some pickups that I haven't used in a while, and I'll put them in a guitar or a bass. So it's a lot of fun.
The chat may be also surprised to know that you're a ham.
Yes, I am. I am a ham extra class licensed ham operator. I got into, like everybody my age, probably got into CB radio in the 70s.
Yep.
Excuse me. And that led to, for me, it led to ham radio. And the guy who got me into ham radio was the president of our record company, of Enigma Records, Bill Hine. And so he was a ham, and he had this huge station. He had a house on one of the hills up in Malibu, and he had this huge ham station, and it was like a recording studio. It was just like impressive. And I'm sitting there at home. Me and Oz, we had CB radios back in the 80s, and we lived about a mile apart from each other. So that was how we talked to each other on the radio. So we made a lot of friends that way. But when Bill Hine had heard, that we were into CB radios, he took me over to his house and showed me this station that's his, and then it's like, I'm going to get into ham radio. So that was back in late 80s, early 90s. So about 1990. and I've just stayed with it ever since. And so all the houses I've lived at and traveling around, the nation, either in LA or Tennessee and now out here, it's like I have antennas up on the house and in my cars, and it's like I just moved. I have this antenna. It's for it's called a magnetic loop antenna. It was sitting over here earlier in my room. I took it out of the way because it was like an eyesore. But I talk just this round 3-foot round antenna. I can talk all over the world right here from my house, and so it's a lot of fun. And you talk to people in Russia and Japan or where. So for me, it's like places that I've been and that I've traveled to. It's like when I get to talk to people that are there. That are living there, I kind of can visualize. Well, I've been there. I know where they're at, and so I made a lot of friends.
So can you actually call somebody on there, or do you just like hit a button and somebody says hello and you don't know who it is?
Yeah, no, it's like you can talk to somebody. I can't really. Well, maybe I could. I'm not going to move it because
let's get them on the air.
I have a whole rack. It's a 3.5, 4 foot tall rack right here that you would use for like audio equipment. I have it filled with radios.
Oh, wow.
And the antenna's outside and going up, so, and it's just,
I used to have a neighbor. Years and years, well, about 30 years ago, I had a neighbor. He was probably in his, I don't know, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
He was older, and he had this huge antenna on top of his house and on top of his car. And what would happen, and this is 1998. And actually, this is when I first got into like DAW recording, like home computer, cakewalk,
right.
Just home recording.
And in a box.
Yeah. And so anyway, so my neighbor, he would talk on the ham radio, and it would come through my speakers.
Yeah.
Like it would come through my speakers. Like I could hit record and record like him just like talking, but it was like, but the voice was like slowed down and like backwards. Like it didn't sound like an actual voice,
Yeah.
So
it's a mode called single sideband where they take like an AM modulated carrier and they take they shave off an upper and a lower sideband. So they take a short bandwidth of each side of that AM carrier. So it's like, and so what it sounds like when they're talking, and you have to have a receiver on the other end that can tune it in properly, but it sounds kind of like a Donald Duck voice.
Oh yeah, it was all messed up. Yeah. It was all strange. And the thing is too, anytime he would like talk on his radio, my phone wouldn't work. Like my landline, like I would go to pick up my phone, instead of a dial tone, it would be him talking. Yeah. But it'd be like rah, 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 rah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny, you being a Frank Sinatra fan also along with me, Tim, usually, I didn't do it this Christmas, but usually every Christmas I request Tim to play this video. It's like, 3 minutes? Somewhere around there?
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, he's got an old, it's got to be a late 30s radio.
It's a 1939 Holocrafters SX24 receiver. So this is an old radio. And it's like how you would have listened to music back in the day, or the radio back in the day.
And he's got an old Frank Sinatra Christmas song playing, and you hear it, and it just takes you back like if you were in 1939, this is what you would hear and how you would hear it.
Through the speaker?
The whole radio.
Like
the whole radio.
I usually ask him every year at Christmas time. I usually ask him to play it. This year I didn't get a chance to.
I didn't put it out this year, but I recorded that. I was sitting in Nashville one night, and Christmas time. This is probably going back 10, 15 years ago, maybe now. I can't remember, but there was an AM station playing Christmas music, and I just happened to tune it in at the right time, and I hit record on my video camera.
I love the sound of that and everything.
And it came out great.
Yeah, it did.
Excuse me.
If you go to Zim's Guitars, Dane sent me a picture, so this is who you look for. This is Dane. And
there he
that's
is.
the
I know
yeah,
that guy from.
he's the owner of the
I
store.
met Dane. Yeah, I met you somewhere. I can't remember if it was here in town or maybe it was on the road or.
That
There he
guy.
is. I know we're Facebook friends. So
Yeah, look at that.
very
He's
cool.
a fan.
He's a fan.
Look at
Well,
that.
I'll definitely come down and check out his store. I'll have to.
He probably has one of your basses to sell you.
I've had so many that I sold.
I was gonna ask you, did you have a whole, did you have like a signature bass? Have you ever had a signature bass?
Yeah, so the one I just showed was
Mhm.
it was a signature bass. So that was a nice hippie sandwich, whatever you want to call it. Of he made me a two yellow and black ones also. So there was
Mhm.
the Overture Guitars TG Timmy Gaines Stronghold bass is what it was called, custom Stronghold, and he made those and then he sold them. He also sold them. So I can't remember. I think we sold maybe 4 of them. So it wasn't like a Michael Sweet style guitar where he's selling a bunch of them, but he sold enough to get the name out there, and he was a great. He's a great guy. He had a great company, and like a lot of the guitar companies, the small boutique companies, it's kind of a struggle to keep going, and so he eventually, I think, he gave it up and got into another line of work, but.
Mhm.
He's still out there. Justin Hoffman, he still probably could build some decent guitars. Yeah, I know he could build some decent guitars. I don't know if he has his shop going still, but yeah, he's a good guy. And grateful that he built me some basses, and they were roadworthy, man. They went through a lot of the other ones. The yellow and black ones traveled the world. Everywhere from India to Japan and everywhere.
The yellow and black one, that's the one that's got like the pearl inlay with your initials in it, and that's the one that you posted that picture at the time had the blood on it from your
Yeah.
fingers.
Oh, that one was my. Was it? Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It did. Yeah. If you want blood, we've got it. That's what.
You got a few minutes to take any questions from some people in the
Yeah.
chat?
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody in the chat want to ask Tim something? Go for it.
We need to get a ham radio to get some
I know,
questions from
I used
ham
to
radio.
crank my CBs up wattage way past 5 watts. I used an SWR unit to measure. Not visible is what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, when I had, I got in trouble by the FCC when I was a kid. I was experimenting with something, and I was running on illegal frequencies at the time, and I don't remember what I transmitted, but I know that the FCC showed up at my house like 2 days later.
Wow.
Yeah, those are way back in the 70s days. You still, I don't think they have a budget for getting people, hunting people down anymore. But back then
Yeah. Well, I remember everybody had to have their call sign on
right.
CB, and it
Yep.
was like
Yeah. In fact, I just found a picture of my bedroom from 1975, and I had the Farrah Fawcett poster on the wall, and then my CB radio.
we all had that Farrah Fawcett. Well,
Yeah,
Johnny
exactly.
might not.
Yeah. Typical.
Okay, you got now you got some questions rolling in, starting with not visible or no. Dort. I can't
Besides
say that.
Stryper, let's see. Besides Stryper,
That one?
what's your favorite?
What's your favorite
most
Stryper
rewarding-
album?
I think my most satisfying project that I've been a part of was a group like I was talking about earlier. It was a jazz R&B group in Nashville called Bliss Bliss, and just music wise, it was very satisfying to play. Me and the drummer just really locked in, and the music was great, and it was kind of like a R&B Steely Dan kind of vibe. It was just really cool music. Cool. And this other guy, let's see. So I just saw one. Somebody was saying, if I'm still a Christian. Yes, I am still a Christian. In fact, I was a pastor up until about a year ago. I had been working at a church here in Arizona. And so, yeah, I'm definitely a believer.
What's it like touring with other bands back in the 80s?
Back in the 80s. So, so we, like we talked about Hurricane earlier. Those guys were great. Robert Sarzo, great guitar player. Kelly, who's the lead singer for Foreigner now. So, those guys were a lot of fun. We did a few tours with them, and they were also label mates. They were on Enigma Records also. TNT and Loudness, that was kind of a weird tour. Loudness was, because nobody spoke English very well, so it's just kind of like, hey, how you doing? We kind of just wave at each other, and
And TNT, that had was that Tony Harnell singing?
Tony Harnell and Lonnie
Ronnie Leticro on guitar, and Diesel Doll on drums.
Yeah, I think
bass. I don't remember.
May have been bass. Yeah, they were great. I have video somewhere of us. We did an outdoor show in Colorado, Red Rocks Amphitheater, where we're all playing together, and it was I think it was them, or was it White Lion? I can't remember. We did another show where everybody played tricks on each other at the very last show. So it was like, I think it was White Lion, yeah. And we did a show, our last show of the tour with White Lion. We took backstage passes, the little stickers that everybody gets when they go backstage. And so we took those and undid this, made them sticky and laid them down on the stage. So when they came out, they got stickers all over their shoes. Yeah, stupid. And we got video of man, I'm drawing a blank now. The singer,
White Lion.
Yeah, why can't I?
Mike Tramp.
Mike Tramp. Thank you. Oh my gosh, my brain. Hey, I'm 62. What do you want? I got pictures of Mike Tramp, or video of Mike Tramp, like pulling. He's like cursing. He's like all pissed off. He's pulling stickers off the bottom of his boots. And then they got us back. They because we sang the sample, vocals. So we'd go up to the mic and we'd be singing along, and there'd be like this big giant choir vocal along with our vocals. So they came out while we were singing at the right moment and grabbed me and Oz's microphones and unplugged them and ran off with our mics. So there's these vocals going off, that are sampled vocals.
Oh no!
Microphones. So they kind of, and then they greased. So Robert Sweet, the drummer, had on that tour, he had like this big, I don't know, it was a pole, like a stripper pole is what I called it. And so he'd use it to climb up to his drum riser, which was like 10 feet in the air. And they put like Vaseline or something, and they greased up his pole. So when he, like in the beginning of the show, when we all run out on stage, Robert usually climbs this pole to get up to his drum riser. Well, he grabbed onto it and he slid. He fell. So that was the first thing. And then what else did they do to us? I think they took like Fruit Loops or some kind of cereal and put them in a fan and sprayed them at us while we did stuff like that back and forth. It was kind of fun. It was banter, the last night of the show.
Oh, cool.
But there are a lot of bands we played with. I can't remember them all right now, but those were some of the ones that stuck out in my head. Didn't
you and Oz have another something Dizzy or
band Sin Dizzy, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did that in 90. When did we do that? 93, 98? I can't remember. But we put out an album. Wait, it was actually just demos. We half of it was Oz had recorded demos with a drum machine. And so it was just songs that he was either planning on using for the next Stryper album. One of the songs was called Hebrew Kings. And it was pretty cool tune, and we were going to put it on the next Stryper album, but then the band broke up, so we ended up using it on the Sin Dizzy album. And then we recorded, so we had those songs, and then we did another 5 songs or so with the band that we had put together, Sin Dizzy. So we had like all these songs that we had recorded, and we just put them together on a CD and released it, and it did pretty well. And that was 98, because I remember it was doing really well, and then all of a sudden it just stopped selling. And I'm like, what the heck? And that's when Napster had come out, and this album had gotten released, and it was like an independent release that I had put out. And it just stopped selling, and it's like, of course, it's on Napster, and everybody's downloading it for free. So,
yeah.
But it did really well for
that,
an independent, something that we just did on our own. So
that Napster was the start of the destruction of the music industry.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then, I did, somebody else was asking, I think, about my favorite album, Stryper album. And, there it is. What's your favorite Stryper album and why? So I would say probably Against the Law was my favorite that we did. Mainly because I played on it. But no, that was an album that we did together as a band, and most of them were just in the past were just done in the studio, or they were put together, and we didn't know what we were doing. It's like everything just came together in the studio. And when we did Against the Law, we were like friends with each other. We just hung out, and we wrote the songs together, regardless of who actually did the writing. It's like we put everything together and formulated that album, as an actual band instead of just one person doing all the work. And so, and it came out really, it was recorded well, and it was a lot of fun to play on it. And then, so that one, and then I think my other favorite would be No More Help to Pay. And then again, it was just, good time in the studio. And there's a ton of Stryper albums that we did. We did Second Coming, which is like re-recorded songs. We did The Covering, which is like all
I remember songs. You saying something about you had new respect for Steve Harris.
We did The Trooper. My gosh, that was that was a tough one. Yeah. The Galloping Gourmet.
Lewis is asking, how did you deal with the critics calling your band a gimmick? I guess he means Stryper.
Yeah. You just dealt with it, I guess. Like, we, a lot of people, they just, they thought that it was a gimmick that we did, Christian themed songs, and with the yellow and black striped and everything had a meaning to it, and I would say probably it would have been, we probably would, if it was a gimmick, and people were criticizing that, it would have been easier to make more money and be more accepted if we didn't do any of the Christian theme. I mean, we did it because we felt called to do that, and it was our personal conviction, as Christians, to put out that kind of music. So you just
I like
roll with it and just deal with it.
Well, what attracted me to it first was the music.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like, wow, listen to this, and then you start listening to the words, like, oh, wait a minute, this is different. It's good, right. So I became a fan.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are drawn in because of the music, just like you said. And it's not until even our record company, when we signed with Enigma Records, they didn't know we were a Christian band. And it wasn't until we were in the studio and they came in to listen to what we had recorded, and they're hearing playback and hearing the lyrics for From Wrong to Right, and the lyrics say Jesus, I'll say Jesus is the way. And he's like, wait, what did we just hear? And oh, are you guys a Christian band? So it's like, they didn't make us change the words or anything. They just, okay, we'll go with it, because we had a huge following in LA. And instead of messing with everything, they just let us do our thing, and it worked out well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great.
I have one thing we talked about during the test, but I'm sure a lot of people in the chat don't know that CC DeVille tried out for Stryper.
Yeah. He and so this was before I was in the band. So it probably would have been maybe the early 80s, like in 1980, maybe 81, because I joined the band in 83. And so at the time he had come to LA from the East Coast, and I had met him out in front of Gazzari's, and we were friends. I knew him by his real name, Bruce. And we'd become friends, and he was just kind of doing the thing. He came from out of town and was trying to meet everybody and get in a band with someone, and he came out with a drummer, and I think, if I remember right, his name was Steve. But it doesn't matter. It's just stuff off the top of my head right now. But he apparently, because the Rocks Regime, which played at Gazzari's a lot, Mike and Robert's band, they played there a lot. So everybody kind of hung out in front of Gazzari's, or went to Gazzari's, or went to the Whiskey or whatever, and did their thing. So, that was then, and I'm not sure what the reason was, he didn't join the band or anything, but, maybe he was in the band for a while. I don't know, but, that was before my time. But, and I told you guys this the other day when we were talking. I was working from like 93 till 2003. I managed a guitar store in California, and I was working there one day, and I get a phone call asking if I was there, and it was Cece. And he pulls up. He just wanted to say hi to me. He pulls up in this limousine. This limousine pulls up in front of the store, and this guy gets out, and it's Cece. And he's like, "Hey," he wanted to stop by and just say hello. So it was cool, And that's how it is with a lot of the guys. We kind of, I think I said this before, we just kind of, you hang out with people in town or whatever, and you may not see each other for 10 years, but when you do, you just pick up where you left off, and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that you were in the flyer war on the Sunset Strip with the stapling the flyers.
Yeah, we
everywhere.
did that. We had a bunch of guys that so when we started off, we already had a fan base before we went out and even played our first show. So we had all these kids that hung out at our garage when we were a garage band, and we'd all go out, and they'd go out and just wherever flyers, and that's what people did. And I think it was Nikki Sixx or somebody was saying, they'd see a flyer and they'd take their their hammer or nails or whatever, their staple gun, and staple over the other flyer that was there. And that was kind of how the competition was. Your flyer didn't stay up for very long because somebody else had replaced it within a few hours.
I'd like to have owned a printing store on Sunset Strip about that time.
Yeah. There was one place that did, I forget their name, but they did like these, poster size flyers for everybody, the big cardboard ones, playbills or whatever they were called.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one you probably never got asked. If you could go back during the heyday of Stryper, would you change anything?
Yeah, I'd probably change a lot. I pretty much destroyed my life because I kind of let things get out of hand towards the against the law period. And so somewhere around 1988, I started drinking, and I carried that on all the way through about 5 years ago. And it pretty much destroyed my life, and destroyed marriages, and just my, where I was with the band at the time, and just, so I would, yeah. So if I could go back, I would have never touched the stuff. It would have changed, saved a lot of hurt and a lot of money, and a lot of destruction in my life. But, it is what it is, and you move on and try to be better. And that's where I've been for the last 5 years.
I like to ask that question to pretty much everybody, or some version of that question.
Yeah,
go back and do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. I don't know, even musically, I don't know if I would have stayed on with Stryper. I had other opportunities, and I'm sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice by staying on, or if I should have gotten out. When I first left, when I was first out of the band in the mid '80s. Because who knows what direction you would have gone musically, and yep. For me it was like, where do I compromise? I want to have success, so I'm going to compromise and what I'm able to do playing wise. Not only I want to play music, I want to play live, but it's like, could I do something else and still be successful? And that I don't know. Here I am. Now it's like, looking back, it's like I wish I would have done something else musically, but it is what it is.
How long did you play with Richard Marx?
Just about it was about a month. We did just a short tour, and then so we did some shows in Vegas and California and Trinidad. So we flew to the Caribbean and did a big outdoor show there with Air Supply and I think Christopher Cross. So it was like, I guess what they would call yacht rock. They're labeling that yacht rock now. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was good times. And so I've done that a lot with different people, where I'm either playing in a band with somebody, or I'm just, doing short tours. And, when I was in Nashville, I did a lot of short stints with different artists, and a lot of recording, of course. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I'd rather stay home and record than go out on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone asked if you like recording from home now, or I don't. That was up a little bit.
Yeah. Do you like working from home or studio better? Either one. I'd rather be recording, I think, than being on a long, 30-day bus tour. It's a lot easier to tour when you're doing like weekend dates and you fly somewhere. When you're on the road for like 30 days at a time or whatever on a bus, it kind of does a number on you, or longer.
Mm-hmm.
But so for me nowadays, with my age and everything and my health, I'm just like, I'm going to stay home and do as much as I can music wise, from the house. And it's great to have the studio at the house because, like I said, you have the convenience of the internet, and you can just upload or download files. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
the downside to that is that you don't have somebody watching over you. So you're like in the ears, and you're your own engineer and producer also. So it's, kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Excuse me for 1 minute. I got to let her out. She's not letting me go.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. I know we had said about an hour ish, and we're
at no.
We're about ish.
I don't even realize when we start talking, we're just talking about stuff.
So speaking about the internet though, like where do you like do you have a website? I know you have the Facebook.
Yeah, I'm mainly just doing Facebook at this point. And every time I get a website going, it's like, I don't know if I'm like doing enough traffic to justify the expense. And so I can do everything I could do with a website on Facebook and reach a lot more people. So yeah, people need to get in touch with me. And it's like, go to my Facebook page, Timothy Gaines Official. Or Timothy Gaines. I've got 2 Facebook pages, and there's email available there. You can message me or whatever, and I usually respond back, or I try to at least.
Yeah, I just renewed a domain today.
Yeah, I've got domains that I just I lost one a few years back, and I went, well, I figured I'd sign up again, and it's like somebody took my name and they're sitting on it. They parked it and they want to sell it back to me for $1,000 or whatever. And I'm like, I'll just go with a .net instead of
I'll just change my name on them. Yeah. Joke's on them.
Yeah. So I got my name back, but I just, I'm parking it right now until I decide to do something.
I mean, the thing is now with the internet, especially with mobile, with having a phone or whatever, there's all these apps, Instagram. I saw you had followed me. You'd followed me back on one of them. There's X.
Yeah, Instagram. I do Twitter or whatever it's called, X now, and Facebook. Those are like the three that I do. And you can that pretty much covers everything, And I got a YouTube channel also, but I haven't really posted anything there in a while. But eventually my goal is to start doing podcasts again. I had spent all this money.
Nice.
I bought the nice camera. Right now I'm just using a laptop, but I bought the nice lights and I had a nice camera, and it's like, and mixer and all that stuff. And so I was all set up to do it, and I just wasn't doing enough to justify it. So, I got rid of everything. I kept a microphone, and I just use the camera in my laptop now.
I do this almost every day.
Yeah.
And so I've got the SM7B. Yep. I've got the lights behind me. Although I'm looking to upgrade mine. I've got the Stream Deck. The interface. All that stuff.
Yeah. What do you? So okay, you're doing whatever this is, StreamYard. And then I was using Ecamm or something. I can't remember. Anyways, I might get back into it. I have no idea. I don't have enough to say. That's the whole thing. It's like, so to do a show like what you're doing, where you have guests on, might be a little easier than just doing a one-off, doing something solo.
Or if there's a subject, that you want to talk about, like personally myself, like I started talking Van Halen stuff because I grew up on Van Halen. So, I mean, look behind me. I mean, I got the guitar.
Yeah, there you go.
Whammy neck.
All that. Yeah, all this stuff. So I do like Van Halen. I it's not everything I do, but it's it's kind of, I know my Van Halen. So if there's any kind of news, I'll do it.
But that's what you're known for, though.
Yeah,
the Van Halen stuff.
I'm kind of known for like Van Halen stuff, but as far as like podcasting, talking guitar stuff, I've got the workbench. Here I'll do this. You can see better. I've got a workbench over there for doing guitar stuff, and I love doing this stuff. Whether it's a podcast or video, interview, whatever. I mean, it really is. It's the future of everything. Yeah, I mean, you can do anything. You can start a show on anything, and there's probably people out there that like whatever that is. And if you just keep doing it, you build up an audience, and it's
that's killer. That's really cool. And I realized that, and that's what got me thinking about it. It was around 2020 when everything was like shut down, and it's like, well, what am I going to do now? And a lot of my friends were doing podcasts, and I'm like, oh, I could do this. And then when I got everything set up, I'm like, I can't do this.
I helped out a lot of friends during that time, 2020, to do
Yeah.
podcasts and stuff, and most of them have stopped. Like
Yeah.
they did it for like a few months, and then they went back to, once everything opened up, they went back outside. I don't go
Right.
outside. I stand right here.
Yeah. I never leave this room. I'm up at 4 a.m. sitting right here in this chair, or in the one behind me, and this is where I live.
Mm-hmm.
I go
Well,
downstairs for coffee every now and then, but
you could do a show on ham radio,
yeah,
about ham radio, how it works. Do a podcast about ham radios.
yeah,
You know.
do that. Bass. I thought I'd do bass. Right now, my latest hobby, I go through these phases where it's either radio, photography, or collecting music stuff, records, whatever. And so it's like right now I'm back into my photography thing, and so I'm pulling out. I've moved like 8 times in the last 10 years, so it's like stuff's been packed in boxes for forever. So I'm hunting down all my photography gear, so cameras and lenses and stuff, and so I'm getting back into that again. And probably I'll get a year or so, I will get back into ham radio, or I really got into playing guitar for a while, and I was a guitar player before I played bass, but I never took it seriously. And so like I said, I built this Telecaster, and I really started liking playing guitar. And then I started buying amps, and then I bought more guitars, and it's like, okay, well, Les Pauls, and then I got another Tele, and then I'm like, well, let's try Stratocaster. So I got into Strats.
Yeah.
I started buying lots of Strats, and then, so anyways, it's like I go through these phases where I try a different, I call it a hobby, but one of my hobbies turned into a career, and that was playing bass. So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but to the point, doing a podcast on something like that would be cool.
Just start the Timothy Gaines podcast or Timothy Gaines show, and the thing is, that's the goal. I'm still trying to get to that goal here, where I can talk about anything, and people will like it.
Yeah.
Yep. But I mean, you already have the following, I mean, your social medias. I mean, you shared out this video on Facebook, and it had like 1 billion people liking it like instantly. I saw that,
Yeah, cool.
So
yeah,
so
and that's probably the greatest thing about for me with Facebook, is being able to reach those people. It's like, even though I don't post a lot of stuff, it's like there's still, like on the one page, there's 35,000 people. And it's like, if I ever shut down Facebook, it's like, what, I'm never going to be able to talk to those people again. So it's like, I always keep it going, and I'll throw something out there every now and then. I'll make a post, but I don't do it as much as I used to. But yeah, Facebook is great still. And like we were talking about earlier, is like doing that versus having an actual website. I think we're doing better. And that's why I shut down my website, is because I couldn't get the traffic that, Facebook just seems to do, or Instagram is another great one too. So, and I've tried all the other, what are some of the other ones that came and went? We had like MySpace started everything off. And
MySpace, Friendster was the first one, but
yeah,
Google had one called Google Plus.
Yeah, I remember
that came and went.
Yeah.
The biggest ones now, TikTok.
TikTok.
That's huge. I love TikTok. I'm on there every day. I don't watch regular TV. I just scroll through TikTok.
I don't either. I use YouTube. I mean, everything we watch
through YouTube.
My wife and I, we just watch YouTube. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
No cable, no antennas on the roof, nothing. It's just just YouTube.
Tim, there's 2 more questions here. One was, what happened to all your original Stryper bass guitars? And then the second one would be, did anything embarrassing happen to you on stage while in Stryper?
So let's see. First question is like all the Stryper stuff. When I was out of the band in 2000 and well, I was officially out in 2017, but I could tell everything was kind of getting ready to hit the fan like the end of 2016. I just wanted to wash my hands of everything Stryper. And
I know
so
you sold
I
a
got
bunch
rid
of your
of,
stuff on eBay.
yeah, I sold, it was a great, because I don't make any money off of Stryper. I haven't made anything in 8 years. So it's like, I've got all this stuff in boxes and got gold albums, and it's like I don't platinum albums, and I just got tired of looking at everything. And so I started selling stuff off, and I was surprised, people buying it. And I pretty much sold everything Stryper. That I don't think I have anything left over. Maybe a couple of trinkets here and there, but guitars, all my bass guitars have either gone to collectors. I have a good friend in Oklahoma who bought several guitars, and he keeps them like in his private museum. A guy in Florida, same thing. And so that's pretty much where my Stryper guitars went. Gold albums went, and platinum albums went to everybody. It's like, I just, nobody sees them. I kept these three because they were stolen from me. And I had these
right when you
stolen.
moved, right?
Yeah, they were stolen out of, I went on tour and they were stolen. When I got home, it's like I didn't realize, because everything was in the middle of moving. So I didn't realize they were missing until one day I'm like, oh, where are my gold albums? I'm like ready to hang stuff up. And so these three were stolen from me. And I had a guy a couple of 3-4 years ago now, who came upon them inside of somebody's, they had a coffee table that, you'd, with a storage section inside the coffee table. And he was helping this person move out of this house and open this coffee table to get stuff out of it. And in the very bottom, underneath like videos and stuff, there were my 3 gold albums. And this house, had renters coming and going, so it wasn't like, they had no idea where, who put them there or whatever.
Where it came from.
But this guy happened to be living there at the time, and he was helping the owner move. And so he contacted me, and him and his brother drove from Wichita, Kansas to Phoenix, Arizona, personally hand delivered these gold albums back to me. And these are the first ones that I ever received. So these ones I'm hanging on to, and they're not going anywhere. But a lot of the other stuff, the awards and stuff, it's, I've gotten rid of. I got a Grammy nomination sitting up there, I'll probably hang on to that.
Wow.
But everything else is just, doesn't matter to me, because nobody will ever see it. Nobody comes over. It's like, who am I trying to impress? My wife? Oh, wow, you got.
Well, if you want to give your address out, you'll have some visitors.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So anyways, that's to make a long story short. Yeah, I don't really have anything to do with the Stryper stuff anymore. It's all gone. I forgot what his second question was.
Anything embarrassing happened to you on stage while in Stryper?
Yeah, every once in a while there's I remember playing. We did a show in Florida at Disney World, and I forget what tour it was, but there was dry ice fog machines that made the stage really slick. And so when we first came out on stage, we had these ramps that we'd run down. And so I ran down the ramp and everything was wet, and I just slipped and went down. So yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. And I can't think of anything else at the moment, but there's always something that's, been, embarrassing. But
Jed is interested in your ham stuff, so he wants to know what kind of ham radio and antenna you use.
Okay,
he came in after you was talking about the.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I've got the radios I use are made by a company called Yaesu, out of Japan, and they're just some older HF or high frequency radios. FT 920 is the model number of a couple of them that I use. And so mostly what I'm doing nowadays, instead of actually speaking over a microphone with somebody, everything's done digitally over a keyboard. So with that, we've been able to consolidate a lot of like big antennas, like a lot of guys you'd see like these huge towers or antennas on people's roofs. And when we moved this last year to our new place, I decided I wasn't going to put anything up on the roof anymore. I was just going to deal with the smaller stuff. So I have what's called a magnetic loop antenna, which is it's a small 3-foot wide antenna. It takes the place of these giant 50-foot towers, and these big multi-band antennas that you would put up there. And so with that, I can talk. I have a little antenna. You can't see it here, but I have this little antenna right here that usually sits on my balcony out here on my patio, and I'm able to talk all over the world with it. I can either use my voice or but mostly with the digital stuff, it's a lot easier just to communicate over, the computer and a radio signal. So, anyway, so that's it. And it would be a lot more involved and a lot more technical if I tried to elaborate on it. But I mean, for the most part, it's, it's not internet, it's actual, communication over the airwaves. So, and I can communicate with anybody all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question about that. Like, how is that different than using the internet? Then,
I mean, in a lot of cases, well, this is strictly communications versus, like what we're doing here with, either like a Facebook or like a live video. You can do video over it too, but the signals are a lot slower with video than you would get like with the internet. But basically what you're doing is replacing the cable or the wire that's in between you and I, through whatever means they're hooking us up, and just going straight, from my antenna to somebody else's antenna, across the pond. And, I'm just replacing wires with airwaves.
So since you're talking to somebody else that's on a ham radio, do you basically talk ham radio stuff? Like I have this and
I mean, some of the stuff, the digital stuff is basically giving a signal report. You're being copied, it's such a signal strength, and you have all that information stored, that it does pretty much the computer programs do everything by, you don't have to physically do anything except press buttons nowadays. But yeah, your information is basically a signal report, and copying the person's call sign and the signal report, and then you log it. You put it in a log. And today we use computer logs, but when I first started, everything was written down, on a piece of paper, and you kept logs, a paper log. Now everything's done.
What was that called when you'd if someone contacted you, you'd send them a card? Or
send them a card, a QSL card, which is QSL is a code. They use Q codes to communicate with, like Morse code, to shorten sentences and things that, instead of saying, I can hear you fine, you have a Q code that you would type out in Morse code, to shorten that, and it would abbreviate everything. And then, so QSL is just really an acknowledgement, that you received their signal. So in ham radio, we send out cards, so after you're done with making the contact, you write down the information. I talked to so-and-so, call sign, and your signal is this on this date and time, and then you sign it and you send it off to them. You can find nowadays you can find them on the internet, their addresses.
I remember hearing Art Bell talk about sending some of those out.
Yeah. Like here's some cards. I can't see that. This is from where is this guy from? Czech Republic. So this is a guy I talked to in Czech Republic, and a lot of these cards are their pictures. They send pictures of their family. This guy's in Slovakia.
Like postcards.
Yeah, they're like postcards. There's somebody from Australia that sent me a card. So it's like,
Does it say Chris King on that one? There's a guy named Chris King from us. We have one Australian viewer here
oh, okay.
that we talked to named Chris King.
Oh, okay, he's not. Oh, there's a guy. Yeah, UDX 1E3. I don't know what that is. UDX 1E3. There's Ukraine. So it's just, a lot of people who find it boring. I have shoe boxes full of these things. These are the ones I just got recently.
So this is something you obviously did this before the internet,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and you continue to do that. Like, let's say, like you could probably, you were just talking about, you still keep your Facebook open, to reach those people. Like would you, like for you, say, if your internet went out and everything, if you just did that, I mean, what am I trying to say? Like, would you have gotten into ham radio like now, or
probably, yeah?
Like, how is it different? How is it, like, what is it about ham radio? Is it the experience of
just it's kind of, I don't know. It's like there's a magic. How can I talk into this microphone and my signal goes out through this antenna and goes to somebody across the United States or across the world, and then you start getting into how it's done, and it goes by the ionosphere. So my signal goes up in the air, bounces off the ionosphere, and ends up, in Australia for that, and so I don't know, it just, to be able to talk to somebody over there, I could pick up a phone or get online and, like we're doing, you're up in, where you're at in
Santa Cruz,
and
I'm in Ohio.
And, I'm in Phoenix, but, this is great. This is magic in a sense, it's like, how can you do that? Nowadays we can do this, just through the internet. The way they did it 100 years ago was, to bounce signals off the ionosphere, and it was all just, they didn't plan it. It was stuff that happened, and then advancements in technology. They learned how the radio waves moved, and so all the science that came with it, and the advancements in technology that came with it. So it's outdated today. Most of the guys that are into ham radio are older than me, and they're in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And these are old World War II vets, and Korean War vets, and so, and a lot of these guys, they did radio, either in the Navy or in the military, or they were engineers. They worked for the government, and so a lot of these guys are, even for me at my young age of 62, I'm a youngster to a lot of these guys. So it's like a small group of guys, and it's a fraternity. You can't really, get into their little clique unless they know you well enough. And so it's hard to work your way in, but, still I've made friends. I'm friends with guys I met on the radio in the mid 70s, that are still on CB radio, that we're still friends, now, and they're ham radio operators too. And in the 80s. So, a lot of these guys that I grew up with on the radio, they're still doing it. And so we get together and we talk. I have a friend that lives on the East Coast that, we talk to every now and then, guys in California. And, so it's just, for me, it's something that's fun, and it keeps me out of trouble, unless you consider spending, all the money I spend on this stuff.
Plus, Johnny, he also rebuilds and builds the radios too.
Yeah, so I don't have it in this house anymore, but the last house I had a workshop, and work on tube gear. A lot of the stuff, they call them boat anchors, because really they're only good for like as an anchor in your boat. I mean, they're big, heavy radios, tubes and iron transformers, and So it'd be like tube amplifiers, your Marshalls or whatever. It's the same type of deal. A lot of guys will go with amp modeling nowadays, whereas if you have an old Marshall or old Fender or whatever, a lot of guys won't use them. They're too heavy. Ampeg SVT weighs 100 something pounds. It's like I'm going to use something lightweight. And that's kind of how it is with ham radio. It's like the old tube stuff is outdated, but it's a lot of fun to play with. It's like the Christmas song I recorded on that old radio. It's like, this is how it must have sounded back in the 40s, and I got that recording. It's there.
Yeah, every time he would post it, and I'd just close my eyes, and just through listening to it, it's like you were back in time.
Yeah. It's like watching Christmas Story, it's like the old radio.
Yeah.
The guy it was Art Bell. Not Art Bell. It was, who was the guy that made that movie? I can't think of his name right now, but he was a ham. Do you remember the Christmas Story with you're going to shoot your eye out?
Yeah.
Always ask the chat. The chat will tell us. They'll know.
Who the kid was? Peter Billingsley.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no.
Who wrote the movie? Who was the writer of the movie?
I can't think
Christmas
of his
Story.
name. He was a ham radio guy, and he
Gemini. What was it? Oh.
He makes a lot of references to.
Yeah, I mean that sounds that's kind of like what we use, and I know we're coming up on 2 hours. We can wind down, because I know I told you an hour, but that kind of sounds. We use something because I don't know if you know this. We're gamers. We play video games too. Like I go live on Twitch every night. We play Call of Duty. We play. We play these video games, but we communicate to each other through this thing called Discord, where we're in a voice channel and we just talk to each other. That sounds kind of like a Discord type of thing, where you get in to so is it just you and one other person, or is it like a room where different people can jump in?
Yeah, there could be me and one other guy. It's like this time of night, I'd probably talk to people, in mid-America, or depends on the time of the day and where the sun is and everything. But in the evening, I could talk, excuse me, 1,000 miles. In the daytime, just a few hundred miles. But yeah, there could be a few guys on at the same time, which we call a net, where there's several guys and they go in a round table taking turns, saying their little spiel, and then they go hand it off to the next guy and he says something. And so, it's fun. Most of the stuff is, given the age of a lot of these guys, the conversations are usually, how's the weather, and, how their health is. I hear a lot of guys, well, my eyesight's failing, or, I've got goiter or something. It's like,
that's Ron and I. That's our conversation before we start these shows.
Yeah.
How's the weather? It sucks. How are you feeling? I feel horrible. Okay, let's do a show.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Same thing.
Well, it happens.
It does.
I knew I'd get old, but I didn't think it was going to happen this fast. That was the.
Yeah, like I said, once I hit 30, it just started flying by. It's like I just turned 62, and it just kind of hit me the other day. I'm like, wow, where did the time go?
Yeah,
yeah, it's
crazy.
Well, that always reminds me of Pink Floyd, off the Dark Side of the Moon. Something. What's the line? Something about 10. You look, and 10 years has gone behind you.
Yeah.
So, yep. Now I know we're cutting into your sleep time, Tim. So.
Yeah, I'm usually in bed by now. So.
It's CB radio time too. Yeah. Well, let's really quickly. We got 50 people watching right now. In the chat, where's everybody watching from? See, that's the cool thing about this. Is you can see the chat.
Where everyone's at, yeah.
Where is everybody watching? You can ask a question. All kinds of stuff. You know, I think you would enjoy doing a podcast or something like this. You
Yeah.
know, because it's similar. You know, it's like you know, like talking on the radio, but you're it's just another
Yeah.
avenue. You know,
No, I enjoy it. Missouri, PA, VA.
We've had we had a girl that used to come in here. She was from England, and it would be like 4 a.m. for her when it was like 9 o'clock here.
Yeah.
And she would be up watching the show. So
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it. And I do several of these, every month or two. I'll get on. I have friends that do other formats of podcasting. A lot of stuff to do with church and so they have me on and so I do a lot of guesting on a lot of these other shows. But so I enjoy it, and it's the same kind of deal. Where we have people tuning in from all over and it's good stuff. It's good to. Lewis, I know. I don't know him personally, but we've talked several times, and I believe
This guy.
Yeah, Lewis. Is this Lewis who builds guitars?
Louis Villarreal.
Yeah.
He owns half of my stuff because I do giveaways and he wins all the time.
Really?
Him and there's somebody named Peggy who's I don't think she's here.
she
wins. She wins all my stuff too.
That's awesome.
Some of these people, I have their addresses memorized.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. Pittsburgh. So a lot of these guys are, it's
Tim, I
late for
want to tell you if you need a bass painted, let me know.
You do painting?
Yeah. Yep. I'm
Awesome.
doing those. I just did one for a lady. She was a Steve Harris fan, so I did it the blue metallic,
Oh, cool.
and she loves it. And then the other day, he's keeping me in mind to do one, but I might do one for Billy Sheehan too. So
Excellent.
No way.
yeah,
See if he remembers me.
I just did this one. That's the Steve Harris.
Oh, wow, yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
So if you need anything
Did
painted,
you paint
just let me know.
the pick guard too?
No,
or-
she ordered a pick guard.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm
that's clean.
doing all kind of paint jobs now. It's like crazy how much is coming in as far as work to do paint jobs. So
Excellent.
Tim, do you like pink basses?
Do I like? Probably not. I have a friend in Nashville who does paint.
Yeah,
I
because
did.
Ron likes pink.
No, I hate pink, but I had to do. I did a pink relic Telecaster, and then they turned around and had me do a shell pink relic bass for him too. I was like, man, now I got a guy that wants a Kramer Night Swan painted hot pink, or neon pink. Like,
Yeah.
man, I can't get away from that pink color. And Johnny
Yeah, I
sent
have
me
a
a
friend
guitar.
in-
He wants pink and purple.
Pink and purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my color, but
Yeah.
But if you want something done, just you know how to get a hold of me. I can do
Yeah,
any
absolutely.
color you want, and I use automotive. It's show car wet clear, so it
Okay.
literally looks like it's soaking wet. That's yeah. So
awesome. Yeah, I'll keep you in mind.
thank you.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're just under 2 hours. I know I told you 1 hour, and I know, yeah. I've already used the bathroom 5 times, so I'm sure. I'm sure. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, but hey, we can always do this again, and
yeah, I'd love to.
if you have any questions on podcasts or any of that, I mean this is what I do,
Yeah.
I might have to start doing this show on ham radio now too.
There you go.
Well, you don't have to learn Morse code anymore.
No, you don't. But it's still fun to play with. It's still fun. Yeah.
I keep
kinda like
trying to talk
music.
him into getting on Roku, start a Roku TV channel for the show. He's got 5,000 videos on YouTube. That's enough for a whole year of.
We got to
program.
figure that out. gotta figure out the Roku thing.
You know, you say Johnny Beane TV, then give him an actual TV channel. That's
Yeah. You're listening to Johnny Beane Ham Radio.
on the ham.
Bean and Ham.
On the ham, yeah.
ham and beans. There you go.
Clayton, what's up, man? Cool. Okay. Yeah, we're at 2 hours.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Good to hear.
You know
from you.
Lewis? You know Lewis?
I think I know him. If he's who I think he is, he's the guitar. He's a luthier. I think he went to school, luthier school here in town or in Tucson or somewhere.
Oh, Roberto Venn?
I don't know
That one?
You'd have to ask Lewis if it's the guy I'm thinking of. Maybe
Lewis, is that you?
Lewis, are you the guy who built the bass? Let's see if he answers.
Nope.
No, it's not him.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's a different Lewis Villarreal.
Different Lewis. Okay. Sorry, I had you confused with a different Lewis. Oh, St.
Cool.
Oh, now everybody froze. Oh, there we go.
Cool. Well, hey, Tim.
Nice shirt.
Oh yeah, the Morley man. This was. Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the old '70s advertisement.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. All right. We're gonna wrap it up. Timothy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll definitely do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
You're welcome, man. And here's your Facebook. So if you guys want to get a hold of Tim, there's his Facebook page, Timothy Gaines Official. There you go.
Yeah, just give me a follow on or whatever it is on Facebook. It's a follow, right? Or a like. I don't know anymore. It's like follow
Likes,
me or like me something.
Follows, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then here we'll I'll say thank you to our channel members. Thank you guys for your continued support for this channel and these shows. I'm planning to do a show tomorrow. There's a guitar show in San Rafael, California tomorrow. So me and our friend, we have a friend named Bay Area Rich. We were going to go to the guitar show and do a live show from there. So walking around.
Are we going to do one tomorrow night?
So I don't know.
Okay.
Not sure. Probably not, because if I'm going to San Rafael, that's like 3 hours away from me.
Okay.
So I'd have to try, go away and then come back. So
Do it remote.
we could do a remote show.
Your phone.
Well, that's what we're doing Monday.
Hey, Dan. That's what we're doing right now. Oh, yeah.
We're doing it Monday because I'm going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and I'm going to broadcast through Johnny, and he's going to do an exclusive show. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
We're going to try that. Hope if you can get reception in there.
Yeah. Well, if I can't, then I'll record stuff and then send you the recording.
You can record and then just WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Smash that thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to follow Timothy on Facebook.
Yep.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
your website, or your you got a YouTube channel too, right?
Yeah, it's not active right now. So, but yeah, Timothy Gaines, YouTube, whatever, however, it's / / whatever. Timothy Gaines. So, at.
Yeah.
One of the above.
Yeah.
You can find it.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Seriously, thank you.
Awesome. Glad to do it.
Thank you so much. Here, I'll play the outro, and then we can say goodbye off the air. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time here on which ID should I play? I got so many here.
Thank you,
Let's
Jed.
see.
Email me.
We'll do, let's see. Anyway, here's a bass player right here. Here we go. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Stu Hammond. You're watching Johnny Beane TV. Yeah.
Thank you. That was too short.
You should have played the Billy Sheehan.
I know. I can't find it. Here, let's see if I can find that. See, what I do is I take these IDs and I play them like at during different shows and stuff. Where is it? Well, let me play. I'll play one and then I'll try to find that one. Here's the guy we actually saw. Oh, here it is. I'll do. I met Dwizzle Zappa last night. Talked to him for a few. He was really cool. We'll play that one, and then we'll do the Billy Sheehan, and then we'll be out here. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Here on...
Hi, this is Dwizzle Zappa, and you're watching Johnny Beane TV.
Hey, this is Billy Sheehan. You're watching Johnny Beane TV.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Hola, amigos. This is your bass player, Billy Sheehan. You're watching me right here on my dear friend, John. It went away.
You forgot my name. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Click on another video on the screen here, and we will see you guys next time here on Johnny Beane TV.